Hi, and welcome to our presentation, Surveying Security Threats of Mobile Systems. Presenting today is myself, Crystal Goddard, Shannon Foy, and Jonte Martin, and we are presenting for Computer System Security in the spring of 2023. Taking a look at our agenda today, we will be giving an introduction. We'll look at the background a little bit of mobile devices and of the Internet of Things. We'll look at the background and history of the Internet of Things devices. We'll look at mobile security challenges. This will be discussed by myself, Shannon, and Jonte. We will dive more specifically into data leakage, malware, social engineering, and man-in-the-middle attacks. And then Shannon will discuss authentication, best practices, give the conclusion, look at our references, and leave space for any questions that you guys may have about our presentation and our topic. So mobile device technology has rapidly evolved and has reached more than 5 billion users worldwide. So if you look at the graph on the slide, the number of smartphone users from 2014 to 2020, and this is listed in billions. And as you can see, there has been a steady incline in the number of users. The mobile revolution has empowered users to move almost all of their everyday operations into the mobile environment. And by 2025, it is estimated that 61% of the global population will be using some form of mobile internet, and 77% of mobile device connections will be from smartphones. So looking a little bit at some statistics, over 73% of all emails are opened on mobile devices. Around 95% of Facebook users access the social network via mobile device. More than 75% of shoppers use mobile devices along with physical shopping, and mobile devices now account for more than half of the web traffic globally. So the degree of important information that is constantly in transmit through multiple platforms has enticed hackers to focus their primary attacks on individuals instead of organizations. So regardless if a mobile device is being used in private or a business setting, it contains a lot of sensitive information that must be protected. So cybersecurity knowledge needs to be emphasized in our digital society to prevent hackers from having a gateway to larger, more sensitive data networks through compromised individuals. So it just takes one person to have a compromised phone or device, and it can cause a big world of problems. And so we'll look at that a little deeper in our presentation. So the history of mobile devices. The concept and application of wireless phone technology started during World War II. And then we had the birth of the mobile phone revolution in April of 1973 with the Motorola Dynatac 8000X phone. And it was the first phone to make a call. Then we had a telegraph and telephone in summer of 1979, which was the first form of mobile phone service. The focus then shifted on to making the phones more compact instead of the bulky big phones that you're used to seeing from that time period. So the Motorola MicroTac, which is pictured on the screen, was invented in April 1989, and it could be carried in a shirt pocket. 90s, the global system for mobile communications was implemented. And so this provided service, phone service throughout Europe and brought the first text messaging enabled phones. IBM's Simon became the first real smartphone. It had the ability to send emails, faxes, access calendars, address books, and used a stylus to interact with the touchscreen. And then in 2007, it was the introduction of the modern smartphone, which was the first iPhone, which was introduced by Steve Jobs. It enabled users to easily view websites as if it were a desktop, and then it streamlined all the other capabilities. In the decades since, Apple and other tech giants have continued to add to the mobile device market with the introduction of iPads and tablets. Continuing a little background information, mobile device to device network has now become a standardized feature in many mobile devices, by which mobile devices can communicate with each other even when commercial internet access is not available. Mobile device to device network provides a paradigm to facilitate data exchange. And in an Internet of Things ecosystem, devices initiate communications among themselves. So due to constrained battery life, processing power, memory, and uncertainty in wireless environment, building an Internet of Things system that solely relies on cloud network is extremely challenging and impractical. So next, we're moving into the security challenges. So an overview of the security challenges that we'll talk about a little further. With iOS and Android taking up almost 100% of the mobile operating system market, hackers have designed malware specifically to penetrate the security flaws of both respective operating systems. So users of mobile devices are increasingly subject to malicious activity. With over 1 billion apps downloaded from the Apple App Store, nearly 25% of those apps were estimated to have only been used once within a 6-month period. So that means we have people downloading apps, and then those apps are just sitting there inactive. With the mass downloading followed by little user interaction, this allows hackers to write malicious code into these applications and send them into the market before being noticed. And depending on the type of malware that is downloaded, the virus may propagate to other devices in the user's network and begin compromising their data as well. So just one individual downloading a malicious app can have big consequences if they join, say, their company's wireless network. It can get to other users on that network. So we'll dive a little deeper into that. The more we use the mobile service in wireless networks, the higher risk we will have. And so Jonte will continue to discuss the security challenges faced in today's mobile environments.
My name is Jonte Martin, and I will be talking to you today about some security challenges and risk. One of the first here we have the top 10 application security risk. The first one would be that of injection. The second one would be that of broken authentication. The third one would be that of sensitive data exposure. The fourth one would be that of XML, external entities, XXE. The fifth one would be that of broken access control. The sixth one would be that of security misconfiguration. The seventh one would be that of cross site scripting, XSS. The eighth one would be that of insecure deserialization. The ninth one would be that of using components with known vulnerabilities. And the 10th one would be insufficient logging and monitoring. A few security threats against IoT devices or the Internet of Things devices. The Internet of Things describes physical objects with sensors, processing ability, software, and other technologies that connect and exchange data with other devices and systems over the internet or other communication networks. In the Internet of Things, or IoT, as we'll refer to it, environment, all devices are connected to each other, and mobile device is considered as key device. But hacking into mobile devices is increasing rapidly with the increase in mobile device users. So as users attain mobile devices, of course, hacking is going to increase. And also with the ever-changing rate of technology, there are going to be new methods that hackers use constantly to hack into our mobile devices. IoT security is extremely important because any smart device can serve as an entry point for cyber criminals to access the network. That does not just include cell phones. I know that's the first thing that many people think about when we talk about mobile devices, but that's any mobile device, tablets, computers, laptops, any kind of mobile device that you might have makes you susceptible to cyber criminals. Once adversaries gain access through any kind of device, they can move laterally throughout the organization, accessing high value assets or conducting malicious activity, such as stealing data, IP, or sensitive information. Mobile devices are more susceptible, to mobile malware because, number one, they're always on. Very rarely do we turn our mobile devices off. Very, very rare, unless we have to, if you're flying on a plane or something like that. And even then it's in airplane mode, and you can access it once. You can turn it back on, what have you, once you've reached a certain altitude in the air. And even then you're connected to a Wi-Fi network. So you're still susceptible to cyber criminals. But they're always on for the most part, unless, they're dead or something. They die from lack of charge. And they're always carried. We carry them everywhere with us. And they're always connected to a wireless network, such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, etc. In other words, the attacker can control the system as desired, regardless of the user's intention, and can take the information of all the programs running on the system. In addition, the attacker can leak confidential and important information stored in the system, including private and financial information, and can cause malfunction of the system that you are utilizing. Common attacks on IoT devices, DOS and DOS attacks. In a denial of service, which is DOS attack, cyber criminals will assume control of the device and use it to overwhelm servers, with traffic, web traffic, we call it, preventing legitimate users from conducting normal activity. Another one is firmware exploits. These exploits, firmware is the software that operates the hardware on every device. Operating systems and smartphones and computers typically run independent of the firmware, but on most IoT devices, the firmware is the operating system and doesn't have a security protection system in place. So it's very vital that you keep those systems in place to secure yourself, to make sure that you are, if you're a user, to make sure you guard yourself from being attacked by cyber criminals. On-path attacks, IoT devices do not typically encrypt their data by default. This makes them particularly vulnerable to on-path attacks, attacks where an attacker sits in the middle of two stations or parties that trust each other. The attacker then intercepts and manipulates the data being exchanged. How do we then, after knowing that, how do we secure our mobile devices? How do we secure them? And although there are many security solutions for mobile devices, they are fragmentary for mobile threats. That is, they are solutions for only several threats rather than comprehensive solution. There is hence a limit to protecting users and companies' data stored or used on mobile devices from various types of hacking. IoT security is part of the organization's overall cybersecurity strategy. It's very imperative that any organization has a cybersecurity strategy, a cybersecurity protocol that will prohibit cyber criminals from accessing our vital information, be it business-oriented or even fiscally, financially. It is important to treat connected devices with the same level of security as they would a traditional endpoint, such as a computer or smartphone. So you can never be too careful, in a sense. Is basically what that's saying. You have to treat every situation basically like an emergency in an effort to remain protected. A few mobile security challenges. Smart mobile devices are quickly becoming essential to daily life, trusted by users to hold everything from contacts and appointments to even our banking information. Our life is basically in our mobile devices. We basically, I hear several people refer to their mobile devices as lifelines. You can't leave home without it. So everything is in our mobile devices. At that same time, our dependence on these devices brings new security challenges, such as device hijack and Wi-Fi based man-in-the-middle attacks. With the ever-increasing rate of technology, different methods are being created to attain your private information via your mobile device. Smartphones are also vulnerable to malicious software known as malware that spread through various means by attaching themselves to useful mobile applications transmitted via SMS or MMS text messages, web browsing, and through data collection tools hidden within a smartphone app. A lot of our apps come with advertisements. We want you to click on that. Once you click on that, that's a potential way to opens the door for you to get hacked. And as a result, people have growing concerns about the security and privacy of their mobile devices, including identity fraud and leakage of personal information. And here is a mobile ecosystem. Slide 13 is a mobile ecosystem. Is a diagram, lets you know how it all works. We have our smartphone, our mobile device, and then of course you connect it to a communication network, Wi-Fi, whatever, cellular or your cellular data, and it moves on to public app stores. What we do, all of this, and the internet is the in the center. That's how we are able to attain all of this. And then the enterprise systems, these are different ways, threats that target our mobile ecosystems at different levels. There are applications or operating systems, network, and devices.
Hey everyone, today I'll be talking about the security challenges that mobile devices face every day, and what you can do to protect yourself in the future and long run. So the most frequent mobile threats are data leakage, malware or malicious software, phishing. Phishing is number one due to the fact that a lot of people have Yahoo, Gmail on their phone, and so they're constantly opening emails up. And sometimes people don't read that it's a spam email, and so they open them emails up, and it's easier for hackers to take their information from their phone. And also social engineering. And then number four is man in the middle attacks. And then number five is intercepting communication. And number six is stolen and lost phones. Stolen and lost phones is definitely a, no go. So like if you get your phone stolen, I know most people they have personal information on their phones that they keep. But if you do get your phone or lost, stolen and a hacker gains access to it, then you may possibly not have your data protected by them and have it out somewhere in the world where somebody is using your identity or anything. And then number seven is user behavior. So we're going to talk about data leakage. Data leakage is happens when data gets transmitted from your organization to external recipient without authorization. In the digital world, where mostly everyone has access to smartphones nowadays. And this transmission typically happens electronically. It occurs when sensitive data such as emails, text messages, social media posts, and more are released to people who should not have access to it. And I know for my phone, usually it says, would you like this app to have access to your emails, your pictures, and everything? Usually I say do not allow unless I am allowing it and then disabling it again because a lot of people like hackers can get in your phone, your data. So malware. A malware program is specifically designed to disrupt, destroy, or gain unauthorized access to a legitimate device or the data while the victim is unaware of this activity. Malware on any phone is a common problem that can affect your device performance, security, and privacy. So there are many types of malware, and the first one is adware, a type of software that serves you a deceptive, shady, or simply annoying advertisements. Then you got ransomware, a type of malware from cryptovirology that threatens to publish the victim's personal data or permanently block access to it unless a ransom is paid off. Then you have Trojans. A Trojan horse on your cell phone may appear as a text message. So if it may appear as a text message and it will send that messages at a premium, often increasing your phone bill. These types of viruses can also connect themselves to a legitimate looking app. Then you have spyware. Spyware is often attached to seemingly legitimate applications such as Twitter, Facebook, and even TikTok. It then loads itself onto your device to spy on it and track your activity. Location, usernames, and passwords included is what it can spy on it. If you have your passwords, you may want to change it after you know that your phone is being hacked into and spied on. So the next one we have is social engineering. Social engineering is a term that encompasses a broad spectrum of malicious activities such as phishing, pretexting, baiting, and tailgating. And so there is different types of social engineering, which is phishing, welling, baiting, diversion theft, VEC, smishing, quid pro quo, pretexting, honey trap, tailgating slash piggybacking. So man in the middle, um, basically an attacker can intercept and decrypt traffic. And so they can hack your computer and take, any information. And they can get it from Wi-Fi and everything. Okay, so what steps can you take? So you can take authentication methods, and this is very good when you ever um have a phone, laptop, or anything. It's good to use authentication methods. Okay, so authentication is a process that ensures and confirms a user's identity. And so the basic authentication metrics, one is knowledge factor. This authentication is the most popular category of credentials used for authentication that requires the user to provide knowledge on a confidential information before accessing a secure network. Password, it can be password, PIN, or pattern. I would say with a password, make sure it's, at least including a character, a special character, a number, um, and a letter in it, just so, a hacker is not taking your password, and so it's not easy guessable. Like, I know one person, one time they used Dora123, and you don't want to use passwords that easy because all you just need is a name and then numbers to guess, and that's it. A person can get into your account or anything that you're logging in with that password. With pins, make sure it's also not easy because, like I said, with the password, it can be easy guessable. So if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, someone can easily guess that password easily. So try to do something that's out of the extraordinary. And with the pattern, also the same thing. Make sure you're doing something unique and not something that's easily guessable. So the next thing you have is biometrics factor, a security process that uses unique biological characteristics of individuals to verify their identity, such as fingerprints, eyes, face, and voice. So I know with the iPhone, they did, well, some of them still do have the fingerprint method where you just have your fingerprint on the home button and it unlocks just for you. And then some of them have the face feature where you can unlock it by your face, which is kind of cool. And then some devices have it where you can just use your voice and unlock it, which is cool. So I would say the biometric factor I really like personally because it's self-identifying you. And then the last one is ownership factor. This category of authentication factors consists of elements based on ownership or possession, such as physical address, software token, and things like that. So this is a chart showing usability and security strength comparison of various authentication approaches on mobile devices. So it goes from high security to low security. As you see, the low security is the knowledge-based authentication. And then at high security, you have the multi-factor authentication. And then right in the middle, you have the psychological biometric-based authentication and the behavioral biometrics-based authentication. So you have one that's high security and then you have one that's low. So that's how that chart is showing. Okay, so there is different attack models that phones have. The main goal of an attacker is to gain access to users' private information or conduct non-permitted actions by taking control of mobile devices, which are protected by authentication systems. To achieve this goal, the attacker needs to either pass the authentication system using the user's identity information or refer to other techniques to bypass the authentication process. So the first one is the brute force and guessing attacks. Brute force attacks are to, it's a large number of identity-related information for required authentication methods, such as passwords, fingerprints, mobile devices, physical addresses for passing the authentication. Then you have observation attacks. The attackers launches observation attacks by using a visual sensing technology such as video recording or photo shooting or simply human vision to peep at the legitimate user's authentication process. The observation resort directly leads to obtaining the user's identity information, such as a PIN or password. Then you have impersonation attacks. The impersonation attack aims to assume the identity of legitimate users through presenting the same or similar identity information. The impersonation attack usually requires the information obtained from the observation attack. Then another one is side channel attacks. And side channel attacks aim to infer the user's identity information through exploiting the identity irrelevant information linkage of the authentication system. So here are the mobile security and best practices that anyone can take for their mobile device. Number one is make sure user authentication is at the highest priority. Make sure you're always using user authentication. Make sure you're always having a password on your phone. Don't keep it unlocked. Make sure you're always using your fingerprint, whatever method you want to use for authentication, make sure you're using it. Number two, avoid public Wi-Fi or non-password connections. This is a huge one. Public Wi-Fi is easy to get inside your computer and steal your password, especially with public Wi-Fi. Make sure you're using your own Wi-Fi or make sure you're using your own hotspot whenever you're connected to any Wi-Fi. Number three is conduct sensitive transactions via secure connection. Number four is backup user data on a regular basis. This is very important, especially if your data is lost or stolen one day. Make sure you're backing it up. So in the future, like if it does say it gets stolen or, lost, you can always have it saved to where you can back it up. Number five is be sure not to grant unnecessary permissions to applications. Like I said, I was saying early, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, a lot of times they ask permission for your location, images, and things like that. Just make sure you're not allowing permission for that. Make sure once you download those apps, make sure you put do not allow. Number six is utilize encryption, such as VPN. This will have you more protection on your device. Number seven is update mobile operating systems and onboard applications with security patches. Number eight is be aware of social engineering techniques. Definitely be aware of this because a lot of people are not aware and then they're being attacked, such as phishing and different other ways where attackers can get them. Number nine is be sure not to jailbreak any of your devices. And number 10 is install mobile security and antivirus applications. I say this is really huge. Make sure you're extra protected on any device that you're using, computer, phone. Make sure you're extra protected if you can. Conclusion of the overall PowerPoint. Security is always an arms race between attackers and defenders. Since the mobile application market is growing at the same time, mobile security will continue to deliver different issues to face. So as technology grows within now, there's always going to be problems with security, mobile security issues, whether it gets completely gone or anything, there's always going to be security issues within mobile devices. So with the future research, designing lightweight and secure authentication protocols for mobile devices is one of several ongoing research challenges. Existing protocols generally do not consider the security of private keys stored on mobile devices. We envision that the future trend of the research on user authentication on mobile devices will focus on developing new authentication approaches, so better authentication methods for these mobile devices. And the last one is gesture passwords are a promising smartphone authentication technology in that future work should focus on understanding the gestures people create and the policies, guidance, and feedback they need to do so more securely. So these are our references that we use for our PowerPoint. And these is the articles that helped us out with so much information that we have learned overall about our topic. And then the last thing is if there are any questions, just let us know and we're able to answer them. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation.